Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Random Robot Does Something Random. So in today's episode I'm taking apart my Kitchenaid because it's not working properly. So I just got to take this little screw out of the back first. And once that screw's out, I'm able to take off this band here. So my Kitchenaid's been making a grinding sound and it sounds like the gears are skipping a bit. So I want to take a look and see what the problem is. So with the band off, it's going to expose 4 screws, 2 on either side of the unit. And I'm just going to take all those 4 screws out. I recommend doing this by hand because you'll have a less chance of stripping the screws. So with the 4 screws removed, I should be able to take the lid off. But before that, I'll need to take this holding pin out first. Now it should hopefully just pop right off. So we need to remove the cover for the gearbox here, and that's held in place by 4 screws. So with those 4 screws removed, I should be able to remove the gearbox housing. We have the main drive gear here from the motor, which turns this worm gear here. And that turns a worm follower gear that's underneath this unit here. So I'm just going to turn it by hand and see which part's not meshing. And as you see here, I can turn the worm gear, and sometimes the follower gear is not engaging, it's slipping. So for me to get a look at that worm follower gear, I'm going to have to remove this C-clip right here. So I have a C-clip or circlip removing tool, so I'm just going to take that clamp off. With that removed, I should be able to remove this transfer gear. I'm just going to gently pry it up with a screwdriver here, just to get it moving. And it appears that it's in good condition. I don't see any problems with that. So now I want to remove the worm follower gear, and it's just held on by a pin. And I'm just going to push the pin to one side and try to grab a hold of it. Now the pin is a bit too slippery for me to grab with my fingers there, so I'm just going to grab a pair of pliers here and just slide it out. All it is a smooth pin. It's not a friction fit or anything, it just slides in. So I'm just going to take the shaft assembly and wiggle it and twist it and pull it down at the same time. And once that's removed, I should be able to just pick up the worm traveler gear. So here it is. And I'm just going to wipe some of the grease off here. And as you can see, it's chewed up pretty bad, and it's actually concave in quite a few spots, which is definitely what the issue is. So I was able to order a part online, and it's been about a week. So here is the new traveler gear, and you're going to need your model number, which is on the bottom of your unit, to order it. I think including shipping it was around $35. So we can compare the old one with the new one just to make sure it's the right size. And as you can see here, the gears on the old one are chewed up pretty bad. So there's probably metal fragments in all this grease, so I'm going to remove as much of the grease as I can. You could take the whole unit apart, but I'm just choosing to leave the unit together and just remove as much grease as I can. And I'm going to add new grease, and one of the key features of the grease you have to put in this, they have to be food grade. And this type of grease is actually fairly compatible with other greases, so it shouldn't have any problem mixing with the current grease in the unit. And again, I'm going to clean all the grease out of the housing as well. And be careful with the gasket, because I did not order a new gasket, so I'm just going to clean up the gasket. And I'm going to repack the grease around everything. And I'm just going to make sure to get it in packed well all around the worm gear and any of the other gears, so it's got a good amount of lubrication there. So now I'm going to reassemble the unit. So I'm just going to put the shaft back in. And I'm just going to make sure I have a good amount of grease on the bottom where the worm traveler gear sits. And I'm just going to slide the worm travel gear back on the shaft. And it's going to take a little persuasion here, so I'm just going to twist it while holding the shaft mechanism up. It should just slide right in. So now it is seated. I just need to reinstall the pin to hold the shaft in place. And it just slides into place. And I'm going to take this opportunity to apply a little more grease to the teeth of the unit. So to install the transfer gear, we just need to make sure that the pin is parallel with the flats on the worm transfer gear. As you can see here, there's a little notch for the pin, and we have to make sure that's lined up. So what I'm going to do is, as I slid it down, I just wiggled the shaft mechanism back and forth till it slid into place and it's well seated. And now we're just going to reinstall the C-clip here. And once that's on, we're going to apply some more grease. So the next step is to apply some grease to the housing. Now there's two flat and raised bits on these two portions of the worm gear. So since I didn't take the shaft out, they're in the right position. But if you have problems reseating the housing, it's probably these two things. You just have to rotate them to get them back into place. And I'm just going to clean up the edge of the housing here so the gasket can make a good seal. So I'm just going to put the housing back on, and you need to wiggle it a little bit once you get it down so everything lines up. And before you put any screws in, make sure it's well seated. When you're putting the screws in, you're just going to lightly put them in first, and then you're going to do a crisscross pattern of tightening it, just so you don't crack the housing by accident. And before I put the cover back on, let's just make sure she works. And we're just going to reinstall the cover, put in the 4 screws, put the band back on, and we'll be done. Again, hopefully you found this video useful. If you do, please leave a like and subscribe there, and any comments you'd like to see of any projects you want to see in the future. Again, thanks again for watching The Random Robot Does Something Random.